Hello everyone. So this is going to be a tutorial on how to fix your animation. If you were watching the last video, how to not animate a run cycle, I basically skipped the most pivotal steps in animating, and honestly, I'm just not going to do that again, or from here on out. The greatest problem is that I was animating while in auto tangent. So if I go ahead and I go to my animation settings, I'm on auto span legacy, and by and large, I absolutely do not want to animate in auto span. What I really want to do is to animate in flat, and if I go over to default tangent, I want to animate on stepped. You know what? And I'll just show you. Here is the result of animating in auto tangent. What happens is you get these really robotic movements. I didn't have the chance to animate this arm. I ran out of time. But as you can see, it feels very robotic. It's very floaty. There's not really any not any clear articulated movement on the hips either. Um, I'm definitely looking at this and thinking there is absolutely room for improvement. What do we do if we kind of run into these problems where we're trying to animate something and we're just not getting that desired effect? So the first thing I want to do is immediately stop this animation. What I'm going to do is now turn on my nerve curves. I'll turn on my reference later, but the main thing that I want to do with this animation is I want to bring it back into blocking. I do not want to continue animating this while it is already in between by Maya, because Maya is going to play tricks on me, and it's going to trick my brain into thinking that the animation is correct. To bypass that altogether, I'm actually going to go to my left view, select all my controllers, and what I want to make sure first and foremost before I go back into blocking is I want to make sure that everything is keyed. All my keyframes. I want to make sure that all my keyframes are keyed with all the controllers also being keyed. So I have all my controllers selected. I'm going to go down all my key poses, and I'm going to make sure that all my key poses are keyed before I go back into blocking. The reason we want to do this is because if for whatever any reason there is a key or a controller that isn't keyed, if there's a controller that isn't keyed, when I go back into spline, it's going to give me some weird results. And this is also to make sure that if there's any cleanup that I did attempt in my spline animation, any deleted keys inside of the graph editor will most certainly be keyed now. Let me just turn on Karnak really quick so that you can see the keys that I am making. But now that I know that all of my controllers are keyed on their respective keyframes, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here now, and I'm going to click on flat tangents, and now I'm going to click on step tangents. And it really is honestly as simple as that, where I can now look at my animation and know for a fact that, well, actually, it should be in stepped. So again, to make sure even further, let me go ahead and select all of these. I'm going to again make sure that they are in flat and step tangents. Let's give that another try. Okay, so another good example of troubleshooting our animation. Funny enough, it's literally because I just need to go into the graph editor like so, select all of them inside the graph editor, and now making sure that I have these all stepped and in tangent. So it looks like it's still not exactly yielding the desired results. That's okay though. Yeah, actually, here's a good example of just trying to troubleshoot then. As you can see, I have my animation stepped, but it looks like I'm having some in between frames that are just kind of popping up out of nowhere. So if you run into something like that, let's just check this out. So it's automatically moving out of nowhere. You know what? Sometimes this works, but let's see if it does. Um, I'm going to save this scene as. I'm going to save it as Maya ASCII. And I'm going to save this as my third iteration. And for this specific tutorial, I'm not really in a bind. I'm not trying to finish this as fast as I can because I'm not in class for this specific tutorial. So just a heads up, a good amount of this is going to be downtime of basically me figuring things out. And this is also a really great opportunity to kind of see what's going through my brain when I'm trying to approach and fix an animation, especially when I'm trying to troubleshoot my animation. So let's go ahead and save this. What I'm doing is I'm saving this in blocked, and I'm just going to reopen this scene, and I want to see if it changes my animation in any way, shape, or form. Because sometimes it just takes a nice soft reboot. And if I'm looking here, okay, so no in-betweens here. We have our next frame there. No in-betweens there. Go to my next one. And there's no in-betweens here. So literally, and it's hilarious how consistent this works. Saving your file as a new iteration, so 003, and look, like it's back into blocking exactly how I want it. So now that I have this, the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm ironing out all of these poses before I even think about splining them. So first and foremost, I definitely want to fix all of these poses. Let's look at my reference image and let's start working through a lot of these. So if I'm looking at this, the first thing I want to say is that I'm way too twisted over. And let's look into my perspective view. Yeah, that's far too twisted for my liking. So let me go ahead and go in here, and I'm just going to rotate this. So it's less dramatic. And you know what? I'm actually going to delete all of the animation that I have on my head. Um, to be honest, it's kind of distracting me, and I would much rather figure out the base of the body first before I even think about tackling the other parts. So some major things that I was noticing on my animation, my hips definitely need some work. So let's check out the hips really quick. Let's see, let's go to the translate Y. So this is my down pose. So right now I'm just kind of going through my poses and making sure that they make sense on the hip first and foremost. I'm trying not to get distracted by all the other limbs, but if we're looking at this, making sure that, okay, you know, my hip is kind of twisted over. This feels a little bit too dramatic in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is go to my left view, and rather than have this be so dramatic, I'm going to reduce that a little bit. Like so. And even here, you know what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to zero out or get rid of the, let's see, I want to say it's the z-axis. So let's see what that does. I also want to get rid of, let's see, that as well. And I'm literally just doing this to see what's going to happen. So I've got that. And honestly, it looks like quite a bit. Honestly, that feels way better though. So I'm going to save those changes. And I'm just going to adjust the spine from the left view ever so slightly now. So I'm not trying to complicate this. I really just want to fix this. And if that requires me to kind of change things a little bit, then that's okay. It's totally fine to change up your animation a little bit. So we've got that. Let's just see what it looks like into the next pose. It should be bending down more, which it is. That's good. And over here, this is feeling really weird. So I'm very, very tempted to fix this arm over here because it's so dead. However, what I really, really should be doing is making sure that the hips are working first. And if I'm looking at the hips right here, they're looking okay, but I'm thinking over here that I definitely want to look at my reference again. So looking at my reference, this is supposed to be tilted in. And honestly, looking at this hip, yeah, this hip should be leading in like that. Because I'm extending my foot forward. And let's push that in a little bit more like so. And because this is pushing in, it's also pushing my foot out a little bit, so I can move this a little bit more forward if I want to. This is the absolute point I would not break it past, like so. And I had a problem earlier where if I extended it too much, that it had like this really bad popping sensation. This feels pretty good to me. So again, I'm trying to iron out these hips before I even attempt to work on the upper body. So once I know that these are good to go, that's when I'll start going in and I'll start doing some changes. So another huge problem that I was having is the hips over here going back and forth. I got lazy and I attempted to do this in a quick and really easy manner by using my auto tangent. And I don't want to do that. So what I really want to do is I want to animate this on this axis. Just to translate X, looking at my animation. So one thing that you want to keep in mind is your body really loves to lean on the side that is leading the foot. So this should be the furthest point, and it is. So if I'm looking at this, I'm really kicking out over here, and then I'm starting to come in a little bit. So that looks pretty good to me, but then I have this really big jump. And that actually makes sense because I'm jumping into the air and shifting my weight to get ready onto the other side. So this makes sense to me. Now let's look over to this side. This side just comes in a little bit. And to be honest, it's not really much of a difference that really demonstrates anything. So what I want to do is actually push that in a little bit more. So again, I'm favoring this side. And then I'm jumping over back to this side. So this actually feels like a pretty good movement to me from side to side movement. So now that I have that, let's look at my other pose here. I actually want this to come in a lot more. So I want to tilt this again, tilt the hips towards the leading foot, like so. And that already is beginning to feel a lot better. I'm not entirely sure about the up. Let's see that. I might actually want to push this foot further quite a bit more. This should be the down pose. So again, checking the hips, just something feels off about the hips. So let me check really quick. Okay, that is the down pose. It's a little bit further actually than my other one. So if I go to this one, this down pose, if I look here, yeah, this one's a little bit higher. So again, I don't want it to be exactly the same, but I do want it to be in the same ballpark. So let's see if that makes a huge difference. Let's just see what happens if I were to boost it up a little bit. Smooth that up like so. Okay, so not a big difference, but you know what? I think I'm going to keep it up there. So the other thing I want to make sure that I'm doing is I'm looking at these feet right here. To be honest, to me, these feet just move so incredibly fast that it's incredibly difficult to see what's going on. Uh, if I really, really wanted to, I would try to put an in between from here to here, so that I can see that leg moving, and that's probably what's giving me my sliding feet. These in betweens right here are probably giving me some weird things that I don't want Maya to do, but I am comfortable that I could do that on my own. So, with that, let's continue to look at the hips. That looks okay to me. I would say that I do want to kick this out a little bit more, these feet right here. So let's kick that out. Oh yeah, there's plenty more space. So I'm gonna give myself a bend like so. And the other thing that I'm kind of concerned about is this passing pose. So if I'm here, this is my contact. This should be my passing. This feels too far. Let's see if it is. So let's go in our left view. And let's look at the reference. So again, this is my down pose. And as you can see right here, my foot is totally off. So again, I'm glad I checked that. As you can tell, I was kind of just pushing it further, but it should be in this position like so. So I'm going to go over here, and again, this is my contact right over here. Right off my contact comes the down pose. So this foot right here needs to be extended over this way. And that's probably what's going to make my feet feel significantly more grounded. Again, I'm able to do that because I'm looking at my key poses again, and I'm not distracted by the auto tangent version of my animation, the spline version. So now that I fixed that, what should come next is this here push. And already this is feeling so much better, where I can actually follow the feet much better now. So let me look at the other foot. And let's quickly hide this again. And I just want to make sure my first pose and my last pose match. So let's copy this one. Let's paste it over here. Perfect. So now this is in order. So next thing I want to do is play this out and see if the hips are making sense to me. So this should look like the opposite of this. And I know I said I wasn't going to do this until later, but I do actually want to animate that back arm, because it'll be easier for me to read this silhouette, in my opinion. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and go to my perspective view. Check things out really quick. Select this side, and I'm going to turn on my reference again. So now that my reference is on, let's have at it. So let's go back to the left view. I'm going to move this reference down. All right, now that I have that, let's check out this arm right over here. And let's reference this reference again. And what I'm going to do is, just rotate this back until it hits about that spot or that angle. And then I'm going to just rotate this down like so. And I'm just going to go down the line, adjusting as so. But before I get too excited, let me copy and paste the elbow and the shoulder. It's just going to make it way easier for me to kind of like paste it like so, and then adjust the animation from there. You could eyeball it if you want to. In my opinion, it's just easier to copy and paste. So let's go to this next pose. And you know what? I'm actually going to keep the reference on so that I can continue to kind of look at it and noodle around. So because I already have this copied and pasted, all I have to do now is just kind of rotate this down a little bit and then rotate the arm or the elbow back, and boom, there you go. And already looking at some problems that I'm having with this arm over here, but that's okay. I will fix this actually right now. Let me just get rid of that shoulder really quick. I do want that to come back just a little bit, but not as much as it was. Like so. That's good for me. Okay. So, same thing. I could, if I wanted to, select this reference and then just immediately move it there, and then just the elbow and the shoulder accordingly. But again, you know what? I'm just finding it way easier if I were to just go over here and move it myself with copying and pasting first. So copying and pasting first, let's go over here. I'm going to select the shoulder, then I'm going to select the elbow, copy this. I'm just going to paste it over here. And now, it actually probably would have been better in the other direction, but let's see. That looks good to me. Go to perspective view, and then I'm going to select this controller, go to the left side, and then rotate up. Like so. Perfect. And then that's where I'll copy and paste again. So let's go to perspective, get the elbow and the shoulder. I'm going to go back to left view, and yeah, paste over here. So let's go to perspective again. You know what? Yeah, let's just do it from here. Again, I'm not stressing too much. I'm not really in a bind for time. We're just kind of relaxing and animating as we go. So let's go ahead and move our reference. This is going to be our up pose. Go back to perspective so I can grab this shoulder. Go back to the left view. Lift that up. And we'll lift this up as well. And then last but not least, let's move over to our last pose. On frame 12. And lift that up a little bit. Actually, a little bit more. Be closer to reference. Like so. And then we'll move this up. So now that I'm kind of reviewing my arms, again, I do not want to continue to tinker with these arms until I know for a fact that I have the upper body down. So looking at this now, there's definitely some rotations that I would absolutely fix. So what I am going to do now is I'm actually going to, I think, delete the other rotations that I have on my chest. And the reason being, again, is because I'm not entirely convinced that I like it at all. So let's just go ahead and I'm just going to delete them. I'm going to delete them and I'm going to start fresh. So let's go down the line. And I want to delete the y-axis. And as you can tell, there is like nothing going on here anyway. So let's go ahead and delete both of those, all of those. Let's go ahead and select this, get the Y. Yeah, this is definitely not like, again, this was me messing around and thinking that I could do this animation without blocking it, but it ended up creating a lot more problems than I wanted. So rather than kind of deal with that, I'm just going to start from scratch. So let's go ahead, select here. I'm just going to select 0 on this axis. And already this is feeling much better. So I'm feeling much more satisfied with that. Rather than kind of rotating this, what I want to do now instead is, you know what, this actually is looking much better like this. because this is coming down like so. I feel like this would come down even more actually. So again, look at my reference really quick. This is definitely looking closer. So this shoulder is actually feeling really, really stagnant over here. So what I want to do is I want to curl this up a little bit actually. So let's see if I can curl that up. There we go, like so. And right now I'm just kind of trying to focus on how this elbow is moving. And honestly, this is feeling kind of weird for me if I'm looking at this. What I actually want is for this to kind of rotate back. That feels better. That's much better. Yeah, so what I wanted to do was make sure that... let's see if I can articulate exactly what happened. So yeah, this just feels really, really stagnant. It's kind of like a straight shot. So it come up here, up, and then straight down. Doesn't really feel like it's moving dynamically. So to combat that, what I did was move this up a little bit so I get more of an arc from this pose to this pose, now back to down to this pose. So I'm coming up, coming in, and then coming back in like so. But still, even though I'm doing that, this arm is feeling incredibly stiff. So again, before I get too excited, let me make sure that the spine is correct. Let's see. Yeah, so let me get rid of the y-axis on these as well. Yeah, I think those are those already deleted? Okay, maybe it's the, no, I think it's the X. I feel like the X's are a little bit too dramatic now. So this actually should not be, this is the down pose. This should actually be evening out. Yeah, the shoulders should be evening out. So if I'm looking at this, D should actually be going slightly in this direction. And it's not moving much, so let me move it more. And this should be very, very neutral in the push at the very least. So I should not feel that this is moving too much. So let me see what happens if I actually zero this out. Yep, already feels way better. Way, way better. Okay, same thing with this one. That one's looking good. Let's click on this one. That's looking good. Already, yeah, see, way, way better. So this is now actually... Sorry, I'm looking at my frames again. So this is slowly rising up. Right now I'm just looking at this shoulder right here. If you're not, I'm animating as if you can see what I see, or what I'm looking at the very least. And I'm looking at the shoulder right here. The reason I'm looking at it is because I have a really nice kind of subtle movement, and then I have a really big pop here. And let's see what pose this is. That's the jump. So if I'm about to jump, this shoulder actually shouldn't be jumping up so much. I actually want this to come down a little bit. So that already feels a lot smoother. So again, just so you know what I'm doing, I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is really poppy to me. I don't like how poppy this is. So to combat that, usually if you feel something poppy, it's because something's not following an arc or the spacing is too far from the last frame and it's giving you this kind of jittery, jarring effect. So if I'm looking at this, it's too much of a pop. So to make it less of a pop, I'm going to ease this down a little bit, which also makes sense because I'm about to lift up. And so I'm propelling myself upwards and my shoulders should be coming down to react to that immediate press upwards. So that does make sense to me. And as I look at it, it's a much smoother transition, I would say. So now that I have that, obviously the next thing, these elbows are killing me right now. But I'm not going to get too excited because I want to work from the shoulders down. And again, making sure that the torso's correct. Looking at my push, I absolutely want the x-axis to be very, very neutral on the push. So let me just make sure that that is the case. Okay, let's put that as a 0. Click on that instead. Yeah, make that zeroed out. Zero that out. It's very subtle, but you know, I want to make sure that. So this should be twisting. Oh yeah, that should be twisting a lot more forward. Okay, so now that I'm looking at this, there's not really much of a difference on this twist here, and I can tell from this frame to this frame. So I really, really want this to twist even more. And I want you to feel that twist a lot more. So yeah, that feels much better. Sweet. Okay, so again, I didn't feel that twist, or I didn't feel like there was a difference in the body. But now that I feel that difference, I'm going to play back over here. Hold on, before I get too excited, make sure I copy and paste this. Copy and paste over to this side. And that's feeling way, way better. So I'm far more confident about this torso. Again, if I could noodle around even more, I would absolutely do that. But I'm feeling better about the upper body and now the lower body. So now I'm absolutely confident that I can charge ahead and start knocking out these shoulders and these arms as well. So first and foremost, let's check out the shoulders. So I'm feeling really, really good about this shoulder over here, the blue side. Let's check out the red side though. Let's see how this is working out. So let's go ahead and check out this shoulder. And let's just go down frame by frame. This is looking good. That's a good transition. This is feeling weird to me. This is feeling incredibly stiff around this area. That feels good, but this is feeling really stiff. So this is coming up. Let's see. Yeah, this feels like a bit of a pop for me too. Yeah, this feels like a pop. So what I'm going to do is, and it just happens to be on the push as well. So what I'm going to do is, this is feeling poppy from this frame to this frame. This feels like a much smoother transition. If you look at what I'm really looking at is the positioning between here and I want to say the neck muscles that connect from the shoulder up to your neck. This right here, this little transition is what I want to look at, and this is much smoother. But if I go here, there's a giant pop, and it's because I'm pushing my character up more, which isn't a problem, but it's making that shoulder feel incredibly stiff. So what I want to do is, rather than have that kind of stiff pop, I want to drag this down a little bit more, like so. That's feeling like a better transition, but now this is giving me that kind of pop as well. So let's go ahead and let's just see what happens. That's like a pop, so let's bring that down a little bit more. Yeah, and this is feeling like a pop too. So let me actually drop this down. Oh, it's too much. Down just a little bit. Oh, that's much better. Okay, so that's just much smoother transition. So again, this is, I like to call the third eye. Once you start developing your third eye for animation, you'll start to see spacing on rotation axes as well. So you definitely want to practice understanding timing and spacing, not only on a 2D space, but also in a 3D space as well, being the rotation of things. So that feels like a much smoother transition. Now I definitely want to knock out these ugly elbows. So first and foremost, I'm not even looking at the reference for this one. I already see it and I can feel it. When my arm is coming in like this, yes, my hand should absolutely be coming in more. But I also want to make sure that I'm dragging my hand a little bit, because I'm pulling my arm away from the front of my body, and that's taking some time to kind of charge back. I absolutely want to make sure that, let's see, go to my left view. Let me just turn off the reference for this one. Looking here, my hand should not go beyond this point right here. So if I'm getting a grease pencil really quick, just to kind of help me sight this out, let's go ahead and grab a grease pencil, and yeah, this right here. So as long as my hand does not go beyond that point when I'm going back, I should be good. I'm sorry, when I'm dragging. As long as my hand does not go back when I'm dragging. And this is a good, I guess, kind of segue into making sure that you understand that there is a lot of value in the bouncing ball exercise and the pendulum exercise, because when you're pulling away, you want to make sure that you're not pulling from this point on the pendulum swing. So with that, let me go ahead and get out of that. Let's go ahead and click here. So I got to make sure that as long as my hand doesn't go beyond that point, I should be good. But actually, that's looking pretty good to me. So let's see. But it feels stiff. So to combat that, I'm actually going to dial this arm back a little bit more. Like so. And you know what? I might even push that back even more just to see what it looks like. And there's, yeah, there's not enough. I need to bend this arm even more. So also being mindful of my arcs. And another thing that I can and should do is, you know what, let's just turn on the editable motion trail. And let's just see what the actual arc of this looks like. So let's create the motion trail. And looking at this, okay, so we start on this one, come down here. I'm looking at this and I'm actually thinking we could push this even further. Yeah, we could absolutely push this even further. So what I would do to push this even further is, let's move this up a little bit. And before I get too excited, let me save this, because already I can tell that Maya is thinking as I'm doing these moves. And this happens a lot, by the way. If you're using the motion trail, be sure that you're constantly saving because Maya loves to crash when we're using the motion trail. So let's go ahead and save that. So I know for a fact, okay, worst case scenario, if I noodle around here, I'm not going to break this too bad. So let's go and let's follow the arc. I want this to come down a little bit more. Give myself more of an arc. And I'm going to jet this forward a little bit. And that's already feeling like kind of a really nice kind of loop there. So let's kind of dial this back. Sorry, wrong one. Let's dial this one back. To kind of get, actually, let's just keep it there. I'll just keep it there for now. And you know what? I actually want to push this up a little bit more. I'll move that down. Remember, I kind of want some hang time there. And you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna animate the wrist. So again, I'm kind of animating the wrist to make it a little bit more dynamic. Again, I'm not really in a crunch for time at all, so I'm just kind of enjoying myself. I'm enjoying the animation, which is something you absolutely want to make sure that we're doing. Always make sure that you're enjoying yourself while you're animating. Yeah, you definitely want to make sure that you're having fun. So I've got that. That feels good to me. Let me check the other axis. Generally speaking, I would absolutely check my my motion trail in the front view. But again, I'm not stressing too much. This is a tutorial. If I give myself the opportunity, I will continue to animate this for weeks. So I definitely want to make sure that I get this out. I want to make sure this tutorial gets out. So I'm not going to stress too much, but I just want to make sure that I'm getting the basic movements and the timing and the spacing to feel right. So now that I feel good about that, I'm going to go ahead and delete the motion trail for that. And then let's check the motion trail for this one. So let's go ahead and visualize this, create a little motion trail. And this one is, hold on, let me Control Z for that. Let me give some more specifications for this. So let's see, we're at 23. I would love to see the frame numbers. Create motion trail. It's just kind of disappearing though, I'm not sure why. Oh, I know why. I didn't key that. All right, so let's go ahead and key that pose. Again, another reason why you don't want to skip your blocking pose in your blocking phase. So let's go ahead and select all my controllers. Perfect. I have all my controllers selected. I'm going to copy my controllers here, and I'm going to paste them over on this side. So now I know that they are perfectly matching. Sweet. I'm going to save this just to be safe. Save scene as. That's a nice milestone for me. Okay, so let me go ahead and get rid of this grease pencil. Go ahead and erase that. Perfect. I want to see if I can delete that from there. Oh, it deletes the keyframe as well. Okay. So as long as it's gone, that's all that matters. Okay, perfect. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Cool. So now that I have that, I'm actually not satisfied with this. This needs to come down. Sorry, sometimes that happens while playing my animation. I'm like, oh, that feels so stiff. And the reason why this elbow feels stiff, like it's not really changing any angles right now. If you're trying to run like that, you just look really robotic. Literally, try running at a constant 90-degree angle on your elbows. You'll feel like a goofball. So remember to feel your animation too. So this is all right. This is coming in. I would definitely, yeah, definitely extend this out. Extend it a little bit. And that's giving it a lot more life. Yeah, if I really wanted to, I would definitely push this down a little bit more. That feels better. Yeah, that feels way better. It feels like a pop for me. So I definitely want to have the elbow come up a little bit more. Actually, a lot more. And then have this kind of drag a little bit. Like so. And I actually want this to come up a little bit more. And I'm kind of having this weird sensation right here. So I'm having a pop like so. And I think it's honestly because of the shoulder here. Yeah, there's a pop in the shoulder. So what I would want to do is actually have this shoulder come up a little bit more. Yeah, that feels much better. Oh, I know what it's missing. Sorry. First and foremost, it's got to come up more, and it's got to rotate up or back more. So to do that, let me do this. Oh, sorry, that's the elbow. Let's do this. Yeah, that's much better. Yeah, feels much, much better. Okay. So let's come up here. Let's jazz this up a little bit. Right now, again, I'm looking at all the timing and the spacing of all of this. I actually want to push that a little bit more. And what I'm trying to do is kind of push my poses a little bit more. And because I'm coming down, I definitely want you to feel the feel that arm kind of bending back. But again, I don't want it to bend further back like so. Actually, no, I think that's exactly what I needed. I think I needed to come up a little bit. That's already feeling much, much better. Okay, so you know what? Yeah, sometimes you animate and you learn something as you're animating. So I didn't think I wanted that arm to come back more, but it's almost like it's swinging and then overextending a little bit. And I actually might want to push that even further, just a little bit more. So let's see. Yeah, that feels much, much better. Okay, I actually like that there. So let's go ahead and copy this. I'm going to paste this over to this side, like so. And we've got that settled. Oh yeah, that feels way, way better. Okay, cool. Awesome. So with that in mind, I'm going to absolutely save this scene as iteration number 5, just for safety. Perfect. Okay, now that I've got that fixed, the next thing I want to do is I actually want to do the same thing kind of over to this other arm. Now that this is feeling much better. Honestly, I'm still getting some weird poppiness, but again, not stressing too much. I'm feeling better about it. So let's go ahead and go over to the other arm. And let's just check out what's happening on this side. So this is coming up. Oh, that's a huge pop. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. That's a huge pop right there. And then, oh, geez. All right, let's fix this. Okay, so let's see this. This should be, that's a good transition. That's an okay transition. That's okay. That's a jarring transition. So for this one, I absolutely want to make sure, and I'm going to have to fix this as I go along, but I want to make sure that this one is closer, because as you can see, the shoulder blade right here, again, I'm looking at the shoulder, coming down from the shoulder all the way down to the wrist. I'm looking up at the shoulder. This is a nice transition. That's a nice transition. That's actually a really small transition. I'm not sure if I like that quite yet. I'll have to fix that one eventually. But from here to here, that's a huge jump. So what I'm going to do is get this shoulder over here, and let's just see what's happening. Where's it going? Where can I put it? So this is like obviously extending quickly. So this should be leading, I want to say, more. So to make it lead more, let's go ahead and yeah, this absolutely has to kind of lead a lot more. And I also want to kind of track where the arc is going. So it looks like it's coming up, and then it just immediately kind of jets down. So if anything, this is also a good example of my shoulders kind of being off. This actually needs to dip down a little bit more, like so. So I've got that dipped. I think I might want to rotate this in a little bit more. Yeah, that's a much better transition. So I needed to rotate my body a little bit more. But however, you wouldn't know that if I was just messing around with the shoulder blade. So it's also important to keep in mind that as you're animating, sometimes it's the larger appendage beyond what you think it is that's actually vastly going to help your animation. So as I did that, I just want to make sure I'm not messing around with this too much. Let's see. Yeah, it feels like a huge popping sensation. So let's just see what happens if I get rid of that really quick. Okay. Yeah, so it looks like it's definitely going to affect my other side a little bit. So what can I do to make this a much smoother transition? So I'm coming up here. You know, it honestly might just be that I need to roll this back. That honestly might be it. Let me just zero this out. I think that was it. I think I just needed to zero it out. The shoulder at the very least. Yeah, I don't want to mess with that too much right now. So what I do want to do though is kind of iron out this transition here. And let me go to the right view. So it's easier to kind of see what's going on. So as you can see, this should absolutely be leading more. And I want to look at where it should be leading more. So it looks like it's coming down. So if I'm looking here, yeah, I'm kind of getting this weird jaggedness. So if I were to get the grease pencil really quick, let's just do a quick doodle, and I want to doodle right here, like so. So I just want to pinpoint where this shoulder's going. And I kind of want to check out what's happening to my arcs here. Like that, see, yeah, that's absolutely drawing. That should not be happening at all. So sometimes it's helpful to kind of doodle around and see exactly what's happening. So this should absolutely be leading forward like that. Let's go ahead and do another draw over. So this is now kind of leading like so. And then it's coming back up for the jump, which I guess makes sense. And then immediately just kind of jetting like that. So this is what's really giving me that popping. And this is a really good illustration here. So as you can tell, this is kind of giving me this really, really gnarly popping right here. And I do not want that. So, oh, I'm silly. This actually makes sense now. I'm jumping into the air and I'm immediately leaning my body in like so. I don't actually want to do that. So let's see what's happening here. Okay, so this is my next pose. And I definitely don't want to be there. If anything, if I'm looking here, I want to be more up here. No, it's a neck. Okay, so let's go over here. Okay. So if I'm looking at this now, I'm still getting that really gnarly jump there. But I think what's also happening is my arm is not moving as much as I want it to. It should be moving a lot more. I just want to iron out these transitions actually more than anything. And you know what? Let me check the left side. Like something's working about this left side and I'm trying to articulate exactly what it is. I think it's because you can really see exactly where it intends to go. So if I go back to this right view, I'm looking at this right view. Honestly, what I'm doing is I'm just sitting down and I'm visualizing exactly what's going on here. So before I get too excited, looks like things are starting to crash a little bit. So let's save Let's save as, we'll save as number 6. ASCII, save scene. And let's reopen this just to be safe. Oh no. Okay, so I'm still getting this weird thing in the graph editor. I'm going to exit out. Don't save because I've already saved. Let's go ahead and exit out of that. Let's open up Maya again really quick. Perfect. And let's open up the run cycle. Perfect. Sometimes just gotta fix yield with a with a simple reboot. All right, so let's go ahead and delete all of these. Really quickly. And then let's just go back and again, I'm just so you know, like this is the the not so glamorous side of animation where you're literally just kind of sitting down and like really trying to figure out like what's going on here. So we've got this swinging. Again, I've got a really gnarly pop here. I wonder if this is also has something to do with it. Actually, yeah, that's a really big pop too. Oh, that's so much better. Okay, so just so everyone can see what I did. Yeah, that's a big transition too. So let me reduce that a little bit. So that already made it feel smoother on the foot. Obviously, I'm still kind of getting this popping sensation here. But let me just quickly go through. So again, I'm really trying to figure out what's going on with the shoulder. I'm getting this pop, so I know exactly what it is. I just don't know how to articulate without kind of ruining the shoulder. I think I'm gonna have to twist this, to be honest, before I get too excited. Like so. So I'm having this. This should come up. And let me actually have this come up a lot more. Yeah, that feels more dynamic to me. Remembering to also kind of exaggerate your poses. So this one, remember I want to kind of overextend this. Like so. Already that's feeling much better. Still kind of giving this little pop right here, but you know what? Actually, let me just delete this. Just want to see what happens. And I'll absolutely fix this too. Okay, so what I really want to do is I want to see the difference between these arms as well. This is here, that's there. This is up more. Have that drag a little bit more. And then here. So looking at my other poses, this should come back. So this is, I want to say this pose. So you know what, I'm getting a little too excited here. I really need to be looking at my reference again to see what the elbows are doing. So let's go ahead and let's just do that. So let's go to frame 16, which is my up pose. And yeah, obviously my arm is absolutely in the wrong direction. So let's go here into, I want to say, perspective view. Let's get this, and let's go back to the left view. Perfect. Yeah, absolutely want to adjust this a lot more. Let's see. This is my push. Up on this frame. Let's see. Okay. Go over here. So this is my contact. This is my up pose. Let's go to the up. And now that this arm is kind of projected forward, let's go back over here. This one should absolutely be up into this one right here. And this one should be dragging. Okay, so yeah, let's try to close this off with the reference as close as we can. Let's move that over here. And yeah, okay, perfect. Let's go to the left view. And we'll ride this in a little bit more. Like so. Let's go back to perspective. Have this kind of lead up a little bit. Oh yeah, that's feeling way better. Oh my gosh, okay. So let me go ahead and hide this. Let's play this out to kind of see if there's anything that's really jarring. All right, I want to say it's a really, really goofy cycle, but you know what? I like it. I ship it. So let's call that there. I think this is a good stopping point for anyone who's really interested in pushing this further even more. Again, I highly recommend watching the video that I mentioned earlier, How to Animate a Run Cycle by I Want to Be an Animator. Very, very clean, very to the point. This is like a run by of my workflow of basically how I would fix an animation that just looks way, way off. So now that I have that, I'm just going to quickly spline this and keep it simple. Let's make sure that both these are matching, both matching. So that's looking good. And then, yeah, last but not least, let's go and spline this. So let me quickly go over here, go to my animation settings, click on, oh, they're already on auto span legacy. Go ahead and save that. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and select all of these. Let's save this really quick. Save scene. And let's see what it looks like when we auto tangent this. And I'm probably going to run into some problems. That's totally fine. Again, worst case scenario, I can save this out. Let me save scene as. So if you watched the last video, just a heads up, after I auto tangent, I was immediately greeted by this weird kind of error where my animation was still blocked even though I had splined it. So what I'm probably going to do, let me go ahead and open up my save location, run cycle, click on that, and then this number 7. Perfect. Oh, perfect. Okay, that's really, really good. So now if you're looking at this, my one critique that I would say is that it's gliding quite a bit on the feet, and that's actually super easy to fix. I'll just do that right now. So let's go over here. Let's go with this foot first. So by this point, you're already landing. I want this foot to be planted still. So I'm going to go ahead and I think it's the x-axis, perfect. Put that on there. That feels more grounded. So let's go back over here. This should actually be touching the ground. Oh wait, how did I do that? Wait, before I get too excited again. I'm already like looking at this and wanting to do things to change it. So let's go back to the left view with the reference on. And I actually want this firmly planted on the ground, I think. So let's go to reference, image, it's hidden. Let's go ahead and unhide that. Perfect. Okay, so yes, I don't actually want this to be planted like that. What I actually want is, let me drop this down really quick. See if I can select it. Let me unreference it. And this will be really the final touch. Normally I would go in and do some cleanup. I've already done tutorials on cleanup. This is really just to kind of show you how I would clean up an animation. Or fix it and then obviously do cleanup. So for this, I honestly don't want the foot to be there at all whatsoever. I want it to be planted, and I'm going to rotate the foot so that I get a better touch, I want to say. So I'm going to keep this as planted as I possibly can, like so. I'm going to drop this down, and I'm going to have the foot kind of stop right there. But rather than rotate the foot, I'm going to rotate this like so. And I might be able to kick that back a little bit more. Let me rotate this further, like so. Okay, now I'm seeing it. Okay, yes. So for this one, this is where I would absolutely say zero that out and zero this out. Perfect. And then we'll zero this out too. So now it's much more firmly planted, like so. And let's see if it does it with the other one. So when this comes down, Perfect. Okay, so this one, we absolutely want this to be down as well. So let's go ahead and select this, like so. And already that's looking way, way better. So let's go back to perspective view. I'm going to turn this off. And again, yeah, watch the last tutorial. It's a tutorial on how not to animate. Look how much better this becomes when I go back to my blocking and really try to understand the spacing of what is happening. So let's go ahead and play this out. Let's go 22 frames instead of 23. That way I don't get an extra frame when I'm playing. And already that's feeling much, much better. One major thing that I really want to do, because it's going to bother me, is I want to make sure these are kicked in a lot more. Almost towards the middle. And that is so, I don't know, it just kind of feels more lined up with how a run cycle should be. If I pull up some reference, you'll see that you really, really lead with that foot. And even this one too. I'm going to kick that in a lot more, like so. Yep, that's feeling way better. I'm way happier with this. Again, I could spend hours doing this, but for the sake of teaching this, I feel like this is a pretty good run-of-the-mill animation. And if I were to critique this right now, I would absolutely say that there is way too much popping on this right here. Especially right on this point right here. Yeah, there's way too much popping, and there's kind of like a brokenness to the foot over here. And if I were to critique this even further, I could do a much smoother transition by rotating this part of the body more. And yeah, but you know what? I'm going to leave this for individuals to critique. It's always good practice to always look at what can be improved on your animation. So keep that in mind. There is absolutely things that I would want to fix about this, but for the sake of demonstrating, I think this is pretty much done. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. And here is how to fix, or how to fix an animation run cycle part 3.